All right, we're holding on Peitet Amud Bet. In the English, we're on 89B-2. Okay, so we're talking about a Navi Sheker, right? Those who get the punishment of chenek, strangulation, and we discussed about the Navi Sheker, and one of the things we mentioned is that how do you know a Navi is a true Navi? And we said one way to know is by the fact that he's an established Navi, right? Otherwise, why would Yitzchak listen to Abraham, and why would the people at the Har Carmel listen to Eliyahu Navi? It must be that they were established Nevi'im, and as such, they were listening to them. So now that we mentioned about Yitzchak listening to Abraham at the Akedah, the Gemara segues into a little bit of the story of the Akedah. So the Gemara starts off. Hadavarim ha'elo 89b2, the bottom right. And it says after these things, Elohim nisa et Abraham, and God tested Abraham. So the Gemara asks, Aharmai, after what things? Ta'amar bi Yohanan mishum Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. Ahar davarev shel Satan. It was after the words of the Satan. What's the words of the Satan? Dichtiv. As it says, Vayigdal hayeled vayigamal. And the child, Isaac, grew and was weaned. Okay, and Abraham made a big su'udah that day. That's what it says in Pasuk. Okay. So, right. Vayigdal hayeled vayigamal vayas Abraham mishta gadol b'yoyim higamal at Yitzchak. He made a big su'udah. Comes the Satan and says, Amar Satan Baruch Hu Bono Shalom Zaken Zeh Hanan told him Ashana Pri Beten. After 100 years old, he got a boy. Mikol Suda Sha'asa, but look, he made this huge Suda. He didn't bring any carbon to you. He made this big Suda for everybody to enjoy, and he didn't bring a carbon to Hashem. Oh my Lord, Hashem said to the Satan, Kumasa Elu B'Shvil Bino. He did it all for his son, right? But if I would tell him, sacrifice your son before me, miyad zabcha, he would do it. Miyad, right away, the Elohim nisa et Abraham. Right away, Hashem tested Abraham with the Akedah Yitzchak. Now, before we move on, we have to ask a couple questions on this story over here. First of all, why? Ve'emet. Lo hikrav Abraham korban. Why didn't Abraham bring a korban? Satan's right. You made shibik su'udah. You should give something to Hashem. So the Ben Yoyada, which is the Ben Ishchai, in his Sefer, the Ben Yoyada, he writes, Shesavar Abraham, shebekach, shemal et Yitzchak, ben shmonat yamim, vekayem l'rishona mitzvot milah kitikuna, en lecha korban gadol mizeh. That the Ben Ishchai says that Abraham viewed that making the milah on the 8th day and doing everything that he's supposed to do with the brit milah, that itself was the biggest korban, and therefore he didn't need to bring another korban. That was enough to be the korban. I saw from the Maharsha. The Maharsha wanted to say that Abraham felt that he couldn't. What is he going to do to bring to say thank you? Such a miracle. It wouldn't be possible to say thank you. So Abraham had no option. Yeah, we take a look at note 29, right, in the art scroll. Perhaps Abraham was so overwhelmed by this thing, right, of what has been given to him, that he deemed any sacrifice he could offer to be an embarrassing, puny thanks. Thus, he saw no possibility of properly expressing his gratitude and made no offerings. Sanhedrin Ketano. Okay. Now, the other issue with this part of the story is it says miyad. Now, when exactly did this feast happen, and when did this Kedah Yitzchak happen? So you could say the feast happened 8 days, happened 2 years, 3 years. It happened when relatively Yitzchak was young. We know that Kedah Yitzchak happened when he was 37. So how is this a miyad? So the Maharsha says it's not necessarily this Seudam, but rather it's a Seudam that happened when Abraham made the peace treaty with Avimelech. And he didn't bring any korban to Hashem. That's one answer. Ben Yehoyada, he says as follows. Really, the Satan spoke, and right away that Yitzchak was brought as a kedah. So it happened right when Yitzchak was 37. But the truth is, the Satan waited. He had this complaint from back then, but he didn't say it until Yitzchak was 37. Why? He knew that if he's going to speak to Hashem, Hashem is going to test Abraham. Abraham would definitely succeed in this mission. He's a big lover of Hashem, right? So therefore, he waited until Yitzchak got bigger. And he wanted Yitzchak to fight back and not let himself be shechted. And this way, Abraham would fail the test. But he didn't know Yitzchak was even greater, and he also agreed to do the will of Hashem. So the Ben Yehoyada says that the Satan had this complaint from back then, but he didn't say anything until the Yitzchak was older, in order for Yitzchak to make it more of a challenge to Abraham. Okay, now that we got those questions cleared out, and Hashem told Abraham, take your son. When it says na, please, it's a term of appeal. Please, please, please. It's like a mashal of a basar adam of a king that what? The king. Basar adam shamdu ala milchamas arbe vayla gibor echa v'nitzchan amdu ala milchama v'chazaka amar lahi b'vak v'shamim echa amar li b'milchamazu lo yamru rishonot ein b'hem mamosh. It's like a king who had a general. The general was very good in fighting the wars. He always won, right? And now came a very big enemy, and the king pleased him, says, please, you got to win this enemy. Because if you don't win this enemy, they say, you know why he won the other wars? Because the other wars were all fake wars. They were all, not really powerful wars. That's why he won. But when he came to a real powerful war, obviously he can't do it. He lost. And he's lucky he won the other ones because they were small. They were nothing. So that's what he told. That's the mashal. What's the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Amal Abraham. So too, Hashem said to Abraham, and I gave you all these nisayons, these 9 tests, and you passed them all. You got to pass this one also. So people shouldn't say, oh, you know why he passed the other ones? They were cheap. They were easy tests. He came to a hard one. He couldn't do it. Right? So that's why Hashem said, nah, please. Hashem said, take your son. What did Abraham say? I have 2. Take your one son, your only one. This one is one for his mother, and this one is one for his mother. The one you love. I love both of them. Why all this big step by step to tell me Yitzchak? In order that his mind should not be unbalanced. You got to give somebody news, right? If it's devastating or shocking news or something, or even if it's good news, but it's very, very shocking, it has to be done incrementally. You got to give it slowly, one step at a time, because the guy might get so shocked, he might have a bad effect on him. So here, Hashem said it to him slowly, building up to it. Now, Kadnu Satan Ladech. Satan sees Abraham on the road. He said, הנה ייסעת רבים וידיים רפות תחזק כושל יקימו מלך כי אתה תבוא עליך ותלם. So the Satan takes psukim from Eov, from Job, and he starts asking questions of Abraham. What he was really saying, the way the Mefarshim explain, is Abraham, you told everybody you can't bring your children as a korban. You said you have to be rahmanut, you have to be merciful, you have to be nice, and here you're going, you're taking your son. You're going to lose out all your students. You're going against what you taught. How can you do this? Abraham said to him, Va'ani betumi elech, using a pasuk in Tehillim. He said, I go in innocence. I walk what Hashem tells me to do. That's what I do. Amar lo, Satan said to him, "Halo yiratecha kisalatecha." You're foolish is becoming. You're too religious. That's why you be foolish. Who does these things? You're too foolish. Amar lo zechorna mihu naki avad. Who is a good guy who loses? Nobody loses. If you do the right thing Hashem said, you don't lose. Even the Hazalo Kishmale, when he saw that Abraham was not going to listen to him, Amar le ve'elai devar yipunav. There's something, a message that I stole from Shemayim. Amar le, Satan said to him, ve'elai devar, okay, kashemati ma'achorei hapargod. This is what I heard from behind the curtain. Okay, some sort of partition that separates the Shekhinah from the rest of the world. And I heard from behind this partition, Haser le'olav ve'en Yitzchak le'olav. The Seh is going to go up, and now Yitzchak, so you don't have to go anymore and bring Yitzchak. It's going to be an animal, a lamb, and not Yitzchak. Amar lo, Abraham said to him, Kach on shosha badai. Even if you tell me the truth, I don't believe you. This is the punishment of a liar. Shafilu amar emet, in shamin lo. Before you would just tell me all these other things, and now you tell me this, I don't believe you. Even if you heard it from the Shekhinah, I got to do what Hashem told me. I am going to do it. Rabbi Levi Amar. Achad devarav. You know what's Rabbi Achad devarim? These are different things that happen. Achad devarim shel Yishmael Yitzchak. Amar lo Yishmael Yitzchak. Yishmael said to Yitzchak, Ani gadol mimecha b'mitzvot. Oh, I'm greater than you in mitzvot. I'm more special than the Jews. Why? She'ata malta ben shemot yamim. You got Brit Milah when you were 8 days. What can a baby do? A baby can't fight and say, I don't want Brit Milah. But I was a 13-year-old terrorist. I could fight off and say, no, and I can be hurt if they try to hurt me. And I'd let them do it. Because of one limb, you're going to say that you're better than me? If Hashem said to me, you should give up your life for me. I would sacrifice myself. Right away it says, Elohim nisa et Abraham. And Hashem tested Abraham. So the first question on this part of the story is if it's Elohim nisa et Abraham, then why is it called if Yitzchak said, Hashem asked me, I would do it. Why is it called the test to Abraham? The test to Yitzchak. Okay. So perhaps the answer is, this brings in the note 45. It's still Abraham's test. When it came to the 10th test, Hashem didn't want to ask Abraham if it would be painful for Yitzchak. So first Yitzchak had to agree. And now the test is truly Abraham's test. But I saw the Ben Yehoyada, I believe it's the Ben Yehoyada. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Ben Yehoyada. Ben Yehoyada writes, listen to this. So Ben Ishchai. And after if you Rabbi Levi, Haytzarach Letzivot et Yitzchak Elekedab, given she had Nisayon Yitzchak, it's a Nisayon for Yitzchak. You know why Hashem asked Abraham? In order to show him the greatness of Yitzchak. Shu Amar. Yitzchak said, if Hashem asks me to sacrifice myself, I'll do that. And he did more than this. Because Hashem never told him. Never told Yitzchak. Who did Hashem tell? Hashem told Abraham. Right? Yitzchak even went further, and Yitzchak gave himself up because of the word of Abraham that he said he heard in the name of Hashem. So it's a greatness of Yitzchak as well, to show the greatness of Yitzchak. But it is Abraham's test nonetheless. Okay. Now that we finish up this story of here, now we're going to finish up the Gemara and this Perek. Okay, so the next sugya, it's really the same thing over and over again. You just have to figure out what's going on here in the Gemara. Okay, so I'll tell you. Take a look at the Torah or Shalom on the left side of the Hebrew column, right, the Hebrew side, the left bar margin. The last 3 psukim on the page. So Devarim Yud Gimel Vav, Devarim Yud Gimel Yud Aleph, Devarim Yud Gimel Yud Dalet. So Deuteronomy 13:6, 13:11, and 13:14. So all in the same parasha in the Torah. And what we have are three psukim that have the word of hadacha, someone pushing someone in the direction of avodah zarah. Okay, so the first pasuk we have that says, "V'hanavi ha'u o cholam ha'chalom ha'hu." Someone who's a navi says he dreamed a dream. Yumat, he'll be killed. Ki diber sara al Hashem Elohechem u'motzi etchem min Mitzrayim. V'hovdecha mibeit avadim, and you're speaking these things against Hashem who took you out of Mitzrayim. Lehadichacha min haderech, push you away from the path. Asher tzivcha Hashem lekecha lechel ba v'ga'atara mikirbech. So you have this Navi who's pushing you away from the path of the Torah to do avodah zarah. You have to kill him. Okay. The next case, the next pasuk, is about a mesit. Right. This is a guy, an individual, not a Navi, regular guy who tells somebody to do avodah zarah. Uskalto ba'avanim b'met. You kill him with stoning. Ki vikesh lahadichacha. That's the word you got to pay attention to. Lahadichacha. Okay. So again, he's pushing you away from Hashem. Yatsua, and then in the third pasuk, and this third pasuk is dealing with the Ir Hanidacha. Okay, so this is the people who go out and cause the city to all serve avodah zarah. Yatsu anashim b'nei Biliam mikribecha vayadichu et Yosher Iram limon elchav navda limacharim asher lo yadatim. Okay, so you have the Navi pasuk that says he should die if he does that. You have the Mesit pasuk that says he gets skila. And you have the third pasuk about the Ir Hanidacha that says they did this without saying what type of punishment or a punishment he gets. So now, Tanu Rabbanan. Now we go back in the Gemara. Navi shehediach, a Navi who pushes someone to do avodah zarah, right? It influences them to do avodah zarah. The Chachamim say b'skila, he gets stoning. The Shimon Omer, Shimon says no, behenik. We're going to see why they argue. Madiche anidachat b'skila. What about those who push off to avodah zarah for anidachat? Chachamim say skila. Remember the pasuk doesn't say what type of punishment, so skila. The Shimon Omer behenik. Shimon says chenik. What's going on? Navi sheyadiach b'skila. Why did the rabbi say that the Navi who pushed someone to avodah zarah he gets skila? It says ati hadacha memisit. We do a gezerah shava by the pasuk of Mesit where it says hadacha, and over here by the case of the Navi it says hadacha ma'al halam b'skila. By Mesit it says uskaltem ba'avanim v'metu, right? So I know uskalto ba'avanim v'met. I know it's skila, so ma'av kam b'skila. So to here in this case gezerah shava it's skila. But Rabbi Shimon doesn't say skila. Shimon says henik. Why? Mita ketiva be. He says that pasuk says met. The pasuk says met. And the chol mitam whatever Torah sitam, and any mitah that's written in the Torah sitam, it is any other chenik. It is chenik. Therefore, he doesn't have this gezerah shava. The way they explain, he doesn't have the misorah of the gezerah shava. You can't make gezerah shava unless you have a tradition of it. So he didn't have the tradition. So he says met. It says met stamita chenik. That's it. So you give him chenik and not skila. That's why the argument over there by the Navi when it says met, do you make gezerah shava to the mesit, the individual who influenced someone to do avodah zarah where he gets stoning, or do you you don't make that gezerah shava, and therefore it says met, you give him stam chenik. That's Rabbi Shimon. Now, what about midiche ir hanidachat b'skila? But it said by the Chachamim say that by ir hanidachat, where the pasuk doesn't say he gets mitah, it just says they did this, right? It says hadacha over there. So my tamad rabbanan. Why did the rabbi say you give him skila? Because you have the word hadacha, and all three psukim you have the word hadacha, and we already learned the Navi from the Mesit, which is skila according to the Rabbanon, and therefore this one also hadacha, so also skila. Every pasuk that has hadacha and it talks about forcing someone to do avodah zarah, the punishment there is going to be skila. Rabbi Shimon, what does he do now? The pasuk doesn't say met, so how does he know chenik? He says chenik. So how do you know? Gamar hadacha Navi. He says, "Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, you don't have the word met there. You don't have a death, so it's tamita. So you know what? You're gonna have to use the gezerah shava. Hadacha. You're gonna do hadacha. To which hadacha? He says to the hadacha of the Navi, right? Because by the Navi makes it the zara it says v'met and tamita chenik. So compare the hadacha people to the Navi, and therefore they get chenik. Where it says, but why? But ligmar me mesit. do the Gzira Shavat to Mesit and say it's Skila. Danin Mesit Rabim. Says, no, you got to compare it correctly, right? By the Navi, he's influencing a large amount of people because he's a Navi. People listen to him. So too here, they're influencing a lot of people to become to do Avodah Zarah. So therefore, just like by the Navi, it's chenik according to Shimon. So too by the Eridachat, it's chenik. Ain't done Mesit Rabim, Mesit Yachid. We don't learn it from the case of the one guy influencing someone else where he gets skila. You don't compare it to there. Gemara says, Adarabba. Why making that comparison? Din and hedyot mehedyot. Learn any dachat from the one individual who calls people over the zar because he's a hedyot. He's not a navi. He's a regular stam guy. He's a regular stam Joe. He's a Joe Schmo. So compare it to another Joe Schmo. Why are we comparing it to the navi? Ain't danin hedyot min navi. Shimon says no. He wants a hediach. Once this navi, so to speak, this quote unquote navi pushes people over the zara, there's no bigger commoner than this guy, okay? And as such, since he's a hedyot also, so now I compare it to Rabim, and therefore Rabbi Shimon would say that both the Navi who calls someone to Avodah Zarah and the guys in the Inay Dachat who cause people to come Inay Dachat to Rabim, they get chenik. The only one who gets skila is what the pasuk says about the Mesid one who influences others. He gets skila. Whereas the Chachamim learned that all three get skila because hadacha is a gzeil shavah for all three, and each one gets skila. Okay. Now, how far and where does this navi that he's pushing someone away? How far does it go? Meaning, what is he doing? So let's take a look. I'm going to Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda says, "Machloked be'oker haguf the avodat kochavim." The rabbis and Rabbi Shimon, they're arguing in a case where this Navi gets up and says, there's no more an Isser of Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is mutar. Okay? That's where they're arguing. That if he does this, does he get chenek or does he get skila? According to Chamim, he gets skila. According to Rabbi Shimon, he's going to get chenek. But and in the case where he says, you're allowed to do part of Avodah Zarah, not all of it, but part of it. The Rachmana Amar, because it says in the pasuk min haderech, afilu miktzat haderech, right? So that's what they'll be arguing. And the Rabbi Chon would say you give him skila, hadacha. Rabbi Shimon says no, you give him chen. Aval oiker haguf d'shar misvot. But if he uproots any other mitzvah, so let's say he says the Navi comes and says no more Shabbat, says no more Pesach, no more Sukkot, no more Lulav. He gets rid of a whole mitzvah. We'll all say he gets chenek. Why? Because it's he's Navi Sheker. Well, Hashem will never change the Torah. So if he's coming and saying it's a Navi Sheker and he gets chenek, right? Like we learned already. But if he comes and he says, part of Sukkot do, part of it don't do, part of Pesach do, part of it don't do, part of Shabbat do, part of Shabbat don't do, Divrei HaKol Patur. In this case, everyone will say he is Patur. Okay? Fine. Mativ Rav Hamnuna. Rav Hamnuna asked the question on this Rav Chizda. It says, La lechet, when the pasuk says La lechet to go, Zu mitzvah taseh. It means a positive mitzvah. He tells you not to do a positive mitzvah. Ba zu mitzvah lo ta'aseh. When it says ba, it means to he's going against a negative commandment. If this pasuk goes by avot kochavim, aseh avot kochavim hechim mishachad. Where do you find a positive mitzvah by avodah zarah? It's don't do avodah zarah. There's no positive mitzvah. Rav Chizda says no. Targum Rav Chizda. It says that you should break the avodah zarah. So that's a mitzvah to say, to break. And he says no, and the Navi comes and says no, you don't have to do that. So that is the case. Okay. So according to Rav Chizda, right now we have Machloket, Chachamim, and Rabbi Shimon. In which cases? Okay. So if he says there is no more avodah zarah, no more Isra of avodah zarah, or he says there's no more partial Isra of avodah zarah, he lets part of it. According to the Chachamim, he gets skila because hadacha. And Rav Shimon would say no. he gets he gets chenek. And if he gets rid of any other complete mitzvah, he gets chenek. That's Rav Chizda. Okay. Now Rav Hamnuna, even though he asked this question to Rav Chizda answered it, he still thought Rav Chizda was wrong, and he gives his own shot over here where they're arguing. Huna Amar machloket be'oker aguf. Ben babul kachavim ben mishal mitzvot. No, the machloket the Rabbanan and the Shimon is in any case that he gets rid of a full mitzvah, even if it's not davul zara, any type of mitzvah he gets rid of completely. That's the machloket. If they get strangulation or stoning, okay. And also they argue in the case if he gets rid of part of the zara. Rachmana amar min haderech. Okay, so if you want to take a look at that chart on the page 98.2 on the right column on the notes section, there you see Rav Hamnuna. He says the Chachim and the Rav Shimon are arguing in all the cases, whether he gets rid of the one complete mitzvah, or he gets rid of Avodah Zarah, or he gets rid of part of Avodah Zarah. The Chachamim say stoning, and the Shimon says strangulation. Okay, so straight down the line, they're arguing, except for partial mitzvah, partial of other mitzvah, of nullification, everyone would say it's exempt, right? If Chizda said, no, they're only arguing about Avodah Zarah. Where it comes to any other mitzvah, so there they would all agree it is strangulation. Okay? Now, Tanu Rabbanan, Amitnabe, so you have this braita that we're going to have to fit into both opinions. Amitnabe, la'akor davar min Torah. Someone who says as a navi and says get rid of any mitzvah or some sort of mitzvah, hayav gets the death penalty. He doesn't say which one. Ve'kayem miktzat uvatel miktzat, to get rid of part or to keep part, Shimon poter. When it comes to Avodah Zarah, I feel Omar Hayom Ibdu Omar Betuluha says do today Avodah Zarah and tomorrow don't. Divrei Kol Hayav. Okay, so how does this fit into both opinions? Abayis Avadek Rav Chizda, Umitaret like Rav Chizda. Let's take a look. Abayis said Rav Chizda. Umatas of Chizda, and he gives the answer like Rav Chizda. When the writer said Torah, everybody holds like Rav Chizda that what Rav Shimon and the Chachamim say you get chenek if he tries to get rid of any type of mitzvah except for the zara, right? Any other mitzvah, he gets chenek. Tries to get rid of any other mitzvah, part of it, the Shimon poter. But who adin Rabbanan add those words, and this is also what the rabbis say. When it comes to Chavim, what type of mita? Marketed lay, according to Chachamim, he gets skila, and according to Shabbat Yochai, he gets henek. Rabba Slav Rav Hamnuna, umitaretz like Rav Hamnuna. Rabba holds like Rav Hamnuna, and he gives an answer to Rav Hamnuna. He says this braita, this is how you read it. Amit nabel akot davar min Torah. One who says to get rid of something from the Torah, ben b'avkol chavim, ben mishal mitzvah, whether it's any mitzvah, whether it's avkol chavim, hayav, marketitlei, and the hayav, according to the different opinions. According to Chachamim, he's going to get skila for any type of hadacha, if he gets rid of the entire mitzvah, and the Shimon would say he gets henek. But if he gets rid of any other mitzvah, part of it, right? Not the whole thing. And part of it, Shimon poter. Who did Rabbanan? Shimon says poter. So the rabbis say that. When it comes to Avodah Zarah, I feel Omer Hayom. If he says today do it, tomorrow don't. Hayav. What is hayav? Depends. Marketed lay. According to the Chachamim, he would get skila. Marketed lay, and according to Shimon, he would get strangulation. So they explained that the braita, according to both opinions, again referred to the chart on 98.2. Rav Chizda and Rav Hamnuna. Okay, now a little bit of instruction. Amar bi Abahu, Amar bi Yohanan. Bakol, in every case. Im Yoman Navi over al Divrei Torah. If the Navi says, don't do a certain mitzvah on a temporary basis, Shemalo, you listen to him. Eliyahu said, bring a korban outside the Mikdash, right? Chutz Chavim. Except if he tells you on a temporary basis to do Avodah Chavim. Even if he makes a miracle for you, and he makes the sun stand in the middle of the sky, you're not to listen to him. Tanya, the Torah knows, Hashem knows that the Avodah Zarah is going to work very hard to do sorts of miracles and stuff like this. All sorts of, oh, look, we healed the guy. Oh, wow, we did all these things. Torah comes and says, no. You can never believe when it comes to Avodah Zarah. They say, do Avodah Zarah, even on a temporary basis, never can be believed. That Navi is not saying the truth. That Navi is a liar. Tanya Kiva. How could it ever be that Hashem would make a sun stand still for those who do Avodah Zarah? You have to be even more careful. He was a real Navi, and then he became a Navi Sheker. So you got to be careful. Sometimes a person is a true Navi, and then later he turns out to be wicked. And he says, do Avodah Zarah. Even in such a case, right? And he says, oh, I once gave a sign. You can't believe me. Right? Because when it comes to anyone that says, do Avodah Zarah, even on a temporary basis, right away, is a complete sheker, and it's not to be listened to. Okay? And now we come to the last sugya. Again, a sugya we saw many times before. How do we know that the Bat Kohen who committed zinut, and she's going to be killed with srifa, and because it says srifa, and we said that the guy that she did it with, he gets henik, because it says she gets srifa, not him. Then we said the zomimim, if they try to make a false case here, they got to get punished. And what punishment they get? They get the punishment that they would have given the man, which is henik. That's the question. How do we know this? So Amar Rav Bared Rav Kika, the Tenya Rabbi Yossi Omer, Matam and Omer Basitim Lo Kashes Abam Lasut Achiv, to do to like his brother. The Fisher call Hamumatin Shabaturam. Usually, when you kill the woman, you kill the man that she was with the same way, right? Bat Kohen is different. He b'sefa and Bola b'sefa. She gets sefa, and not her, not the guy she was with, because it says he, right? She gets it. Okay, zomimin. What about the zomimim? Any day imla hukshu imla hukshu. The compare it to him, compare it to her. Shu omer la'asot le'achiv. It says in pasuk, you do like you did to his brother. Le'achiv le'achuto. You do to them like they try to do to his brother, which is a man, and not like to the sister, and therefore they would get henik, like the man would get henik, and not seifa like the woman would get. Hadin alach eluhein hanechenakin. Hadin alach eluhein hanechenakin. Hadin alach eluhein hanechenakin. Okay, so Be'ezrat Hashem, next week, right? The next time we learn, we're going to be starting the 11th parak about Chelik, the parak of a lot of the Agadata of Mashiach, about different stories in Tanakh, about Olam Haba, about what does it mean to be Napikaris, and all things like this. A lot of interesting Agadata Gemara. So if you know anybody who's interested in joining this part, which is more easier than the previous parts where we were learning a lot more halacha based, they're welcome to join. Again, thank you very much.
So miss the class.
Yeah. All right. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're there. We finally got there. Tov.